Well, listen, when a new player arrives on your team, you need to give him a chance. You need to give him an opportunity. And having too many good players or too many good offensive defensemen, I would argue, is actually a darn good thing. You need all those defensemen to be good. And honestly, when you have a confident defenseman that wants to come in, I appreciate that. Some people don't like that, but I personally do. Welcome back to Pixel Plus Hockey. If you could make sure to hit that subscribe button, it'd be so greatly appreciated. And thank you so much to those that are already supporting me as well. It is very humbling. And when you're going through a rebuild, I expect good individual performances, although you never know. There's an off chance that the Calgary Flames might be able to make the playoffs. Like, who the hell knows? I mean, honestly, it's probably best if they miss it, especially this season, because there are a number of really good players available in the draft. But when we talk about individual performances, that's the biggest thing with the Calgary Flames. Who am I looking at? Gridden, Parekh, Nemec is a big one. I want this guy to be confident. I want him to put his best foot forward. I want this guy to be the man in Calgary, because when he came from New Jersey, he just never showed out there, and he has to get off to the right foot in Calgary. I think it's incredibly important. And I'll make this question of the video. When it comes to the number one power play unit, who should get the number one power play unit? Nemec or Parekh? I lean to Nemec personally because I think it's the most important for him to get a good start, but I know there's going to be others that disagree. But check out this really interesting quote from the man himself, Nemec. I want to be on the number one power play. I think Calgary can offer me that. I need to fight for that, but I will be ready for it. We were three guys in New Jersey. We all wanted to play first power play, and it didn't work well for me. I think in Calgary, I can show that I can be a number one power play guy, close quote. I don't know. Some people don't like that quote from what I was seeing. I actually think that's a really awesome quote. I think that why some people don't like that quote is because they look at the maybe drama between him and Parekh. Like, Parekh really wants to be, on the power play, which obviously I would assume is true as an offensively minded defenseman. So does Nemec. So then they're probably going to have to share some level of duties, if you understand what I mean. But listen, I have always looked at him as being the number one guy in my opinion, but you can also share duties. Like, for example, when we talk about sharing duties, it's not necessarily the most elite offensive team. So let's say you have a number one unit, you have your players on you have Nemec, you have Gridden on that unit, or whatever you want to do. You could have a second unit that is technically less talented. But here's the thing. Let's say your number one unit with Nemec isn't firing on all cylinders. It's completely reasonable to give, Zayne Parekh a position of time where he gets, the number one power play unit time for some period of time, right? Like, you don't necessarily always have to give it to Nemec. You can switch it up. I think that the difference between what happened in New Jersey and what happened in Calgary is that they had three guys. Calgary right now has two, but at the end of the day, when it comes to Nemec, I guess what some people don't like about it is he's almost acting like he doesn't like the competition. I don't really look at it like that. I mean, you got to have some guys that are okay with playing number two or just whatever it takes to help the team win in whatever position is the best. Now, let's take a look at his advanced analytics from NHL Edge here. His fastest shot was 91.48 miles per hour in the 55th percentile. Now, one thing that I do tend to like about Nemec is he does shoot a lot. It's not necessarily about the hardest shot. It's also about getting the shot through. A lot of guys can shoot very hard, but they can hardly hit the net. So you got to get a guy that can hit the net. Let's take a look at Simon Nemec's shots and then how it looks to the rest of the league. So we have long range first, and that is 51 to 32. 32 is the average from other players in the 77th percentile, so that's quite high. Mid-range 24 to 13, that is above NHL average in the 80th percentile. High danger shots 6 to 4 in the 71st percentile, and all locations overall 79th percentile, 101 shots. So this is not an NHL defenseman that is too afraid of taking a shot. Let's look at his heat map right here. This is where he took most of his shots. Of course, as a defenseman, most of his shots were taken from lesser danger areas, looking for tips or rebounds like most defensemen do, and certainly looking for slap passes. That's pretty useful on the power play as well. Now, one other thing that I wanted to show you guys as well is his zone time start percentage. This is going to be very, very important going forward. Now, interestingly enough, in New Jersey, I want to point out the defensive zone start percentage of 39%. The NHL average is about 40%. So keep that in mind. So he's a little bit below average, but he's right where he should be, generally speaking. But you might want to bring that even a little bit lower. If we look at his offensive zone start percentage, is at 43%, and his neutral is 18%. I wonder where you guys would think that he should start mostly. I would say the offensive zone. Now, to be fair, he was actually starting majority in the offensive zone and neutral zone, but I want his defensive zone start to maybe go even a little bit lower. Can you get it to like low 30s? Is that possible? And then can you get his offensive zone start percentage, let's say 51% or something like that? That would be perfect. I'm not really worried about him starting in the neutral zone. That doesn't really matter to me. Like, that's perfectly fine. I do worry about him a little bit in the defensive zone. Now, to be fair, he's going to have a good partner. I would assume they're going to match him with Kevin Ball. So at the end of the day, he's pretty good at even strength defense. So he can take the brunt of what Nemec is not going to be doing in his defensive zone. Because as I've said before, I do not look at this player as a defensive defenseman at all. I think the Flames need to understand that and put him in position to succeed. It's going to be incredibly important. But at the end of the day, if he gets more minutes, he's going to have to be able to be at least a little bit competent, defensively. But I think he's certainly going to show out offensively for sure. Like, I think he's a good offensive defenseman. He just needs to be given that chance, and I think that that's what they're going to do. Interestingly enough, in this article, he actually talked about that he never actually requested a trade from New Jersey. I find that fairly interesting. I'm not sure if I actually believe that. I don't know what you guys think. I don't really believe that. I think that there were rumors many, many years, or well, not many, many years, but enough years where he actually did seem to ask for a trade, or maybe he was making it pretty obvious to the coaching staff that he was frustrated. Perhaps he never went straight to New Jersey's management and said that, but he probably made his frustrations known at least to the coaching staff. So if you have the coaching staff where you're, essentially frustrated, maybe that's kind of the similar thing, but that is also a very, very interesting tidbit. But it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. He's a Calgary Flame now. He's happy to be here. And if it doesn't work out in Calgary for Nemec, well, it's not the team. It's probably the player if it's not working out for him in Calgary. Anyways, guys, I'm going to leave this video here. If you can make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it, guys. And make sure to have a great day. Goodbye, guys.